Grandpa Joe,
Hey, Sammy.
I haven't seen you in ages.
No, I've been ever so busy, you know.
Since you retired?
Yes, since I retired. Gosh, it's all go. I've been here and there and everywhere.
People do say they're busy when they're retired, but do you have summer holidays? Are they even a thing for retired people?
Well, yes, I like to go away sometimes, but I like being at home, especially if it's nice and sunny.
Nice and sunny. Ooh, we've had some pretty hot weather, haven't we?
Oh, I'll say, my lawn is burnt to a crisp. And the tomatoes, have you got tomatoes?
I have. I have to feed them 3 times a day at the moment. It's ridiculous.
I know, but they're coming on a treat.
If you could choose your perfect weather, what would it be like?
Well, you'd think after all these years you'd know that we'd be able to choose how we made the weather, but we don't even know what it's going to be like this afternoon.
No, you're right.
Oh dear, when you think about it, the world's a big scary place and we're all rather small, aren't we?
I hadn't thought about it, but I think you're right.
Have a think about it, Sammy.
You'd think by now, with all the technology that we have, we'd be able to choose and craft the perfect weather. But the reality is, we can't even tell what the weather's going to be like this afternoon, this morning. I don't know if you resonated with Grandpa Joe's question or his quandary there, but when you observe the world around, you're forced to acknowledge that we're not as big as we think we are, and that the world is a big, scary place. One of the characters from the Bible, a chap called Job, experienced this in his life firsthand. He had so much: wealth, family, friends. In many respects, he had it all. And yet, within the space of a few days, he lost it all. And it caused him to ask the question, why? It caused him to look at the world that he lived in and to respond with fear. God answered Job in his distress. And part of what God did for Job was to help him to see 2 twin truths, 2 things that we need to understand if we're to live and to flourish in this big, scary world. The first thing that God helped Job to see was this, that he was not as big as he thought he was. Job had already come to a realization and a recognition that the world was bigger than him, and yet God needed him to see how unfathomably small he truly was. God, in Job 38, asks Job a series of questions. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you when someone told the waves and the seas where they were allowed to go? Have you ever walked in the storehouses of hail and thunder? Do you know how to tie Orion's belt? All of these questions were aimed at helping Job to see that he simply is a speck, a dot. Nothing of any value, of any worth, of any strength, of any power in the grand scheme of God's wonderful creation. It was helping Job to see just how truly terrifying the world that he lives in is. Have you ever had that experience in your life where something or someone has helped you to see how small you are in comparison to the vastness of the world? Perhaps it has been a walk through nature. Perhaps it has been standing at a harbour when a storm has hit. Perhaps it has been trying to fit into 24 hours more than you can even imagine. We're not in control. Life screams that to us over and over and over again. But that is not all that God wanted Job to see. There's a twin truth that goes along with that, and it's this, that God is in control. It isn't much help to us to see the world for the scary place that it is, and for us as the tiny, minute people that we are, if that's the end of the story. What God, at each question and at each point in Job 38 is pointing out is that he is over and above even the scariest thing we've ever encountered. The earth's foundations, laid by him. The seas and the waves go where he commands. The morning, the dawn, the dusk, set by his clock and no one else's. Job, God says, you need to understand you are not in control, but I am. I created and I sustain. It's a similar picture to the one that Jesus speaks into in Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6, Jesus is anticipating the worry, the stress, the anxiety that we often feel in our lives. We feel it because we are uncertain of what the future may hold, or because we're frustrated that we are powerless to influence that future. And Jesus says, in a part of his Sermon on the Mount, he says, one thing you need to know, guys, is that God is a heavenly Father. You can be his children. He's in control. He's trustworthy. He is loving. And you are small, and you are utterly dependent. Recognize that, and you get a measure of peace. Pursue living in his kingdom as his citizens, and all those things that everyone else stresses about, you can let go of, because you know and you have God. It's a bit like a picture of the difference between healthcare in the US and the UK. We know, don't we, that in the UK, our healthcare is provided for us free at the point of access. It doesn't matter what sickness you have. It doesn't matter what insurance you have. It doesn't even matter how much you've paid into the collective pot throughout your life. Healthcare is there and available. We don't need to stress. We don't need to worry about it. On the other hand, in the US, this is a big issue for people. Do they have the right insurance? Does their insurance cover the sickness that they have? Have they paid enough in order to access the treatment and the services they need? Worry, 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 stress, anxiety. Jesus says, stop living over there. Come and live and exist and find rest and peace in God's kingdom, where it's all taken care of, what we eat, what we wear, what we do. God is a heavenly Father, and he has everything in control. So Grandpa Joe, my answer to you is this. Yes, the world is a scary place. Yes, as individuals and even as humanity, we are powerless in a universal sense. But the one who made it, the one who controls it, the one who is over and above it all, offers to be our God, our Heavenly Father through Jesus Christ, the King in a kingdom where everything is taken care of. So we don't have to be scared. We just have to know. We just have to trust. And we just have to rest.